So, have you ever actually stopped to think about what happens when a patient takes a medication? I mean, they can't exactly test it themselves, right? They don't have a whole chemistry lab sitting in their kitchen to verify the active ingredients. They literally just have to trust that it works and that it's safe. But where does that trust actually come from? Well, it comes from data. In this explainer, we're diving into why data integrity is the absolute bedrock of patient safety and pharma manufacturing, and how documentation controls are pretty much the only thing standing between a safe product and a totally catastrophic failure.
Here's what we're looking at today. We'll start with a chain of trust, then move into the ALCOA Plus principles. After that, we'll break down paper, electronic, and hybrid records. Then we'll tackle audit trails and access, trace the data lifecycle, and finally, look at some common data integrity failures.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the chain of trust. This is the foundation of all our decisions. You can think of this process as a really fragile sequential chain. First, the operator records exactly what happened, honestly and in real time. Next, a reviewer confirms that record. Then, quality assurance actually relies on those exact records to release the batch. From there, regulators trust that those systems are working properly during their inspections. And finally, the patient receives the medicine. So here's the absolute crucial point. If a single falsified record breaks even just one link in this chain, the whole thing collapses. Every single other record becomes suspect, and the real-world consequences? We're talking warning letters, massive import bans, and huge product recalls.
Moving on to Section 2, the ALCOA Plus principles. These are your 9 essential data attributes. So the core of this whole framework started with just 5 principles, which gives us the acronym ALCOA. Attributable, basically who did it and when. Legible, is it readable and permanent? Contemporaneous, was it actually recorded the exact moment the activity happened? Original, is it the very first capture of that data? And accurate, is it totally correct and error-free? Mastering these core 5 is absolutely essential, mostly because they make up the vast majority of inspection findings. I promise you, if you get these right, you're going to prevent a massive amount of compliance headaches down the road.
Let's actually look at one of the biggest stumbling blocks, contemporaneous recording. On one side, we have a really good practice, like an operator recording a weight the absolute second it's taken, directly onto an approved form. Perfect. But contrast that with a clear breach. This is when readings are just kind of jotted down on a scrap piece of paper, or maybe even on a glove, and then typed into the official logbook a couple of hours later. That completely breaks the contemporaneous rule, and it also puts the original rule at risk, because technically, that random piece of scrap paper was your true raw data.
Now, over time, regulators realized they needed a bit more, so they added 4 more principles, bringing us to ALCOA+. These are complete, consistent, enduring, and available. And I really want to emphasize that first one, complete. Complete literally means all the data has to be there. You absolutely cannot selectively remove things to make a batch look better. You have to keep the repeats, and crucially, you have to keep the failures. Deleting an inconvenient result fundamentally breaks this rule, and honestly, it's a super frequent, highly critical inspection finding.
All right, Section 3, paper, electronic, and hybrid records, and their 3 distinct risk profiles.
So paper records are super simple, they're familiar, and hey, they don't require power or complicated software validation. But the downside is they have 0 automatic audit trail, and they are incredibly easy to lose. Electronic records, on the flip side, give us those automated audit trails, strict access controls, and searchable databases. Plus, they can enforce data entry rules on the spot. But obviously, they require really robust IT control and Annex 11 validation just to make sure they work exactly how they're supposed to.
But here is where things get genuinely dangerous. Hybrid systems. A hybrid system is basically a process that mixes paper and electronic elements together. So imagine printing out a lab result from a computer system and then signing that piece of paper by hand. This exact setup is widely considered by regulators to be the absolute riskiest and definitely the most difficult to control. Why? Well, because staff are signing a static paper printout while the dynamic electronic raw data file just sits there on a computer, often going completely unreviewed and unprotected. The paper and electronic halves are almost never properly reconciled.
And that brings us to a really critical difference, static versus dynamic data. Static data is a fixed record. Think of a PDF or a printed piece of paper. You can't change how it's viewed. It is what it is. Dynamic data, though, is something like an electronic chromatography file, where the peaks can literally be reintegrated and re-examined by the user. So the golden rule here is that for dynamic data, the electronic file is the true original. A flat piece of paper is just not enough, because a printout completely hides your ability to manipulate that underlying raw file. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Audit Trails and Access, your system's time-stamped memory. Under Annex 11 guidelines, a proper audit trail has to capture the who, what, when, and why of a system. It absolutely must capture the unique identity of the user, a secure timestamp from a strictly controlled clock, the exact action that was taken, both the old and new value if something was changed, and of course the reason for making that change. And the most crucial part, a compliant audit trail cannot be edited or switched off by ordinary users, ever. It has to leave a permanent footprint. But here's the thing, just having an audit trail switched on in the background isn't enough. Listen to this specific regulatory expectation. Relevant audit trails are reviewed as part of reviewing the batch record for release. You can't just ignore the audit trail and wait until an inspector asks to see it. It has to be actively reviewed for unexplained changes or deleted tests by an independent, competent person during the routine batch review, well before that batch ever makes it to a patient. Now, to make those audit trails actually mean anything, you need ironclad access controls. Every single user must have a unique login. Absolutely no shared passwords ever. Sharing passwords instantly destroys attributability. We also use least privilege roles, which just means you only get the exact system access your specific job requires, nothing more. Also, system administrators need to be segregated. They shouldn't be the ones generating or approving GMP data themselves. And finally, controlled clocks. Think about it. If a user can just change the time on their computer, they can backdate a record to hide when an activity really happened. That's a huge red flag. Let's move to Section 5, the data lifecycle, from generation all the way to the end. Data's journey begins at generation, where it has to be captured accurately right at the source. From there, it moves through processing, where any calculations must be fully traceable and validated. Then, a second person takes over for the review phase, checking both the data itself and its corresponding audit trail. This makes sure that during reporting, the results are conveyed completely, with absolutely nothing selectively omitted. The data then enters retention, where it's kept secure and legible for its required lifespan until finally reaching archival and destruction. At that point, it's either safely stored so it remains readable, or it's destroyed under a highly controlled process once its retention clock runs out. Finally, Section 6, Common Data Integrity Failures. Let's look at the patterns inspectors see all the time. Picture this case study. An analyst runs a sample, and the assay fails its specification. Now, maybe thinking it was just a random error, the analyst decides to quietly delete the failing data file, re-inject the sample a few times until it finally passes, and then only report that final passing result on the certificate of analysis. No official deviation was logged, no investigation was opened. But then, during an inspection, the investigator looks straight at the system's audit trail. And man, it exposes everything. It reveals the deleted original failing result. It reveals the hidden repeat injections, which is a massive violation known as testing into compliance. Ultimately, the audit trail directly contradicts the official certificate of analysis. The critical takeaway here? Failing results must always be retained. You can literally never delete them. Any invalidation has to go through a formal, documented out-of-specification or OOS procedure. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to anchor a few key numbers in your mind. The first is 9. That is the number of ALCOA Plus principles you must master. It's essentially your daily checklist for trust. The next number is 7. There are 7 total controlled stages of the full data lifecycle, from its generation all the way through to its controlled destruction. And integrity matters at every single one of those steps. And finally, 0. That is exactly the number of failing results you're ever allowed to delete. 0, not 1. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. We've just seen how a single weak link, like one shared password, one unreviewed audit trail, or one random piece of scrap paper, can totally collapse the entire chain of trust for a product. So if a single falsified record casts doubt on literally everything a site produces, how secure is the data you recorded today? Think about that the very next time you log into a system or pick up a pen. Until next time, stay curious, stay focused, and keep learning.